We're talking about asking for what you want, saying no. We have a bunch of different skills in DBT for helping you determine how intensely to ask for what you want or say no. One of those things is called doing your homework. And this is so common sensey, but it also is something that we often overlook. When you're getting ready to ask someone for something, doing your homework can involve a lot of things. It can involve getting really clear about what it is you're actually asking for. It can also be about asking questions, getting to understand what the other person's capability is. So when I worked with teens, and teens were getting to that driving age where they wanted to ask their parents for a car, often they wanted to ask for a very nice car. And so I was told teens, I was like, you gotta approach your parents with reasonable mind arguments when you're asking for something. You gotta prepare an argument that is not emotional, like, this is a car that I'll be so happy if I have this car, but rather looking into statistics, safety statistics, because that's often a thing that parents are very concerned about, but also getting a sense of what's your parents' budget for this project, and then trying to ask for something that's within that budget, because that dramatically increases the likelihood of you getting what you want. Before you ask for the thing you want, gather information. Know the details about the thing that you're asking for. Clarify your goal. What exactly are you asking for? This is so important because often we go into a situation not really clear about what we want, and it's so helpful to the other person if we've kind of worked through that. What's our dream ask, and what are we willing to settle for? Plan your points. If you don't want to forget something, be sure to jot down some notes that you can refer to. If you're doing a Dear Man to ask for something, you might want to rehearse it. You might want to meet with a friend, kind of go over it with them, practice saying it, see how they respond, to make sure that you're presenting your points in a way that's going to be much more amenable to the other person, to increase the likelihood of them saying yes, or to increase the probability of maintaining the relationship when you say no. So if someone is asking you for something, and you're trying to decide if you're going to say yes or no. If you're unclear about any aspect of what they're asking for, do your homework by asking for more information. You can ask, can you explain a little bit more about what this involves? Or here's a thing that's really helpful to do. If you're a person who has a really hard time saying no, you can always say, let me check on that and I'll get back to you. Buy yourself a little bit of time to think through how you want to respond. Here's something that's kind of interesting from social psychology. We have a tendency to underestimate other people's willingness to help. In over 14,000 real-world help requests, people predicted how often strangers would be willing to help. They guessed about 30% of people would be willing to help them out. But what they experienced is nearly 78% of people were willing to help. Strangers. And here's the kicker. People are more willing to help when you give them an explanation of why you need help. Give them a little bit of insight, and they are much more likely to agree to help you out. When you're posting here in this space and you're asking for a little bit of help, try posting in a way where you say, here's what would be really helpful, and here's why. And then you can ask for people to share their lived experience. What has worked for you? And let them share their story and see if you can learn anything from that. In this way, we end up in a much more reciprocal situation, and you can move into a really interesting conversation. And that is a way of doing homework for whatever the situation is that you're dealing with. Here are a few more thoughts about when you're going to post on this space when you're asking for help. Try this. Start by describing your situation. Again, using the community guidelines, so we're not giving details about unskillful behaviors or trauma. You just say, did something unskillful, thinking of doing something unskillful, experience some kind of trauma trigger, and then let people know what you've tried. If you're having trouble being skillful, let them know. So you're like, here's what happened. Here's what I've tried so far. Let people know what the barriers were. What were the obstacles that got in the way of using this skill effectively? And then ask the community if anyone has faced a similar situation and what helped them get through it. In this way, we're building community by inviting a conversation, a real conversation. And you're more likely to get the help that you want when people have a better understanding of the whole situation. Because, oh my goodness, none of us like it when people are offering advice that we've already done, but it helps if the other person really knows what you've tried. So all that is about homework, and I guess particularly homework for getting the help that you need when you need some help or you need a little support. Let people know how to help you and why you need that help. They'll be more likely to help you out.